Hello class, welcome to our first module for Applied Economics. This is Coach RJ. I hope everybody is safe at the comfort of their homes and ready to learn our first module. So before we move forward with our topic for the day, let's take a look first at our learning objectives or lesson objectives. So by the end of this topic, we are going to differentiate economics as a social science and applied science in terms of its nature and scope. And then we are also going to examine the utility and applications of applied economics to solve economic issues and problems in our country. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, let's define what is economics. Economics is the study of the ways that individuals and societies allocate their limited resources to satisfy their unlimited wants. Okay? So when we talk about economics, this is wherein we study on how individuals, not only individuals, but also the society. So examples of individuals, us, consumers, and then society at large, the organization, the companies, on how they use their limited resources to satisfy their unlimited wants. So when we talk about resources, we are talking about the things that we use so that the people may create what they need or they want on their daily lives. So when we talk about the things, these are commodities. So when we talk about commodities, these are the products and services. So it means to say that our resources are limited. However, we have unlimited ones. So hindi siya nagpapanagpo. So that's why we need to study economics because we have to understand on how we use our limited resources to satisfy our unlimited ones. So when we talk about limited resources, we are talking about scarcity. Now, class, hindi ito yung pinupuntahan natin para sumakay ng rides, ha? When we talk about scarcity, this is wherein we have a limited availability of our commodity or products or services, which may be in demand in the market or by the commons. This also includes an individual's lack of resources to buy commodities. Now, when we talk about resources, ano ba yung mga sample ng resources natin? We have land, we have, when we talk about land, ito yung mga trees, yung mga plants, yan, lahat given by nature, given by God. Yan yung land. It's an example of a resource. What else? For us to be able to create tables, chairs, and all the things that we use right now, we need labor or human resources. Okay? Aside from that, we also need capital. So when we talk about capital, it could be man-made or nature-made. Okay? When we talk about capital, it can be highway, bridges, even software or the roads and the likes. Okay? So yung mga resources na pala yan, yung mga land, labor, human resource, our capital, they are all limited. However, we have unlimited ones. Okay? So that is why we need to study economics. Okay? So aside from that, class, the reason why we need to study economics is that so that it can help us in decision making. When we have an exposure in economics, we are going to have we have an exposure to quantitative problem-solving techniques, okay, which is very important in part of economics. Okay. Next, problem-solving abilities. People with education in economics develop an appreciation to the social issues. So examples of our social issues, diba? Global warming, healthcare, education, and even social security. The issues are complex and the ability to deal with them suggests ways of improving our standard of living in the broadest sense that requires clear thinking. Okay? Then another one is job opportunities. Better job opportunities awaits the economic graduates. Business and government are increasingly aware for the need of the people who are trained in economics. They are employed in teaching, government services, banks, and even business firms. Their duties may include research, economic analysts, forecasting, and consultants on capital investments. Okay, so that is what economics is all about and why do we need to study economics. Now, class, let's talk about economics as a social science. Now, remember that as per definition, Social science is the study of society and how people behave and influence the world around them. Okay, so that is what social science is all about. So example of the social sciences, di ba? Psychology, sociology. And when we talk about psychology, this is the study of mind and behavior. On the other hand, when we talk about sociology naman, this is a study of development, structure, and function of the human society. So how do we say that social science or economics is a social science? Again, when we talk about economics, di ba, it's the study on how individual and society used their limited resources to satisfy their unlimited ones. And when we talk about social science, again, we are talking about behavior, like sociology and psychology. So we study on how an individual or the society makes use of its limited resources. So we are talking about behavior here. Okay? How does an individual react to scarcity? Diba? And how do they make use efficiently the limited resources that they have? Okay? So we are studying on how individuals make choices in allocating scarce resources to satisfy their unlimited wants. So maaksaya ba yung individual or matipid sila sa paggamit ng limited resources natin? So that's what we are trying to study in economics as a social science. Now, economics is also an applied science. Okay? Why do we say so? When we talk about applied science, this is wherein we apply existing scientific knowledge to develop practical applications. Okay, so why do we say that economics is an applied science? Again, in economics, we are also going to use economic theories wherein it explains the movement of goods and services in our market. Okay, so since individuals and societies makes use of the products, of course, the products and services moves inside the market. And we have to study on how the products and services moves inside a country. Okay? So economics as an applied science will help you students to learn about the relationship of the business and even the basic economic theories. Aside from that, we are going to focus on urban problems, healthcare crisis, agricultural problems, poverty, economic growth, and even the environment. Okay, so when we talk about applied economics, we are going to apply economic theory and econometrics in scientific settings with goal of analyzing potential outcomes. Okay, so in applied economics, we are going to use economic models. Okay, so example of very popular economic models that is used under economics is yung the law of supply and demand. Okay, yan, pag-uusapan natin yan under applied economics. Okay? Now, guys, we are going to talk about the basic economic problems. How do we know what are the basic economic problems in the country? The fundamental problem of economics is to really determine the most efficient ways to allocate our resources. Siyempre, yun naman talaga yung kailangan natin, di ba? Kailangan we would be able to identify what is the most efficient ways to use or utilize the resources that we have, since this is not unlimited, limited yung resources natin. So we should ask ourselves on how would we be able to use or utilize our limited resources. So there are basic questions to make the right decisions on how to efficiently use or allocate our resources. Okay? The first one is what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom to produce it. So let's talk about the first one, what to produce. Now guys, every economy must determine what goods and services are to be produced in and in what quantities of each to produce. So the buyers and producers need to produce in order to obtain things and exchange the things they already own. Since, society cannot really have everything, they must decide which goods and services they want now and which one to give up. Okay, so kailangan we really identify what is the most important products that we have to produce. Okay, so that we won't be able to uh, hindi natin masayang yung resources that we have. Okay, so that's the first basic question. The first one is how to produce it. So when we talk about how to produce, we are questioning the production method. What is the production method that will be used to produce the goods and services? So this refers to the resource mix and technology that will be applied in the production. So aside from identifying what do we need to produce, of course, we also need to know how to produce it. Because again, the company must decide on how to use the resources to produce the goods and services. So what kind of combinations of resources and technologies will be used to produce these said goods and services at the lowest cost? So syempre, the manufacturer may wish to maximize his or her profit and also minimize production costs. So they may combine labor and capital given the prices of labor and capital and productivity of those resources. So syempre, the producers or the manufacturers of the products and services that we need, kailangan they also take a look on what is the most efficient way on how to produce the products and services that is needed. Okay? And the last one, the next question is for whom to produce it. So when we talk about for whom to produce it, this is about the market for the goods. For whom will the goods and services be produced? Is this going to be for the young or old, the male or female market, the low income or the high income groups? So this question determines the distribution of goods and services. Okay, now goods and services will be distributed to the buyers on the basis of their ability and willingness to pay its existing market price. The ability to pay the prices for goods and services depends on the amount of income that the buyers have, along with the prices of and taste and preferences for various goods and services. Now, when we talk about for whom to produce, syempre kailangan we also identify para kanino ba yung products and services na pinoproduce natin, right? Kailangan targeted siya on a marketing perspective so that the reason why we need to make sure that we are targeting our customers so that our time, effort, and money would not be wasted. Now, the reason why in basic economic problems we ask this for whom to produce it, syempre para hindi again masayang yung resources na ginagamit natin in producing these products and services. Okay, so again, the three basic questions that we need to answer to determine the most efficient ways to allocate our limited resources is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce it. Now, class, let's talk about the different basic economic problems of our country. Right now, it's really, it's really a very interesting topic. What are the different basic economic problems of the country? I know that in the internet, in social media, you would see there is a lot. There's a lot of economic problems of our country, but this is the basic economic problems that we have. So the first one is unemployment. Especially now, I'll show you guys a little data on the unemployment rate here at the Philippines. We also have poverty, quality of our infrastructures here in the Philippines, and also income inequality. Parang because of the pandemic, lahat to natuhog natin, no? So let's discuss them one by one. The first one is unemployment. According to psa.gov.ph, unemployment rate in January 2020 was 5.3%, while in April 2019, it was recorded at 5.1%. So this is actually during the pandemic. Ngayon tumaas ng 0.2 yung unemployment rate natin, right? So 7.7% or 7.3 million unemployed Filipinos by April 2020. So most probably it's because of the pandemic or any other reasons. That's why our unemployment rate really went up. So when we talk about unemployment, guys, ito yung mga may capability magtrabaho, however, they cannot find a job right now. Okay, but when we talk about underemployed, may trabaho ka, but you are not maximizing the skills that you have. Okay, that is the difference between unemployment and underemployed. So unemployment, you are looking for a job. You are capable for a job, but you cannot find any. So that is what unemployment is all about. Now, the big question is, what should we do or what can we do, or what can the government do to be able to decrease unemployment rate? So there is actually a lot of things that we can do to decrease unemployment rate. So here are some of the suggestions. The first one is to improve our educational system, especially in the rural areas. You know, companies nowadays they are looking for applicants who at least have reached college degree level. Some of them looks for high school lang or senior high, naghahanap sila, but they really prefer college level applicants. Believe me, I've been in the corporate setup, and we really do look, or the company really do look for applicants who at least have reached 2 years in collegiate level. Okay. Then the next one is to more investment opportunities to encourage local and international investments like tax incentives. Another one is so that we can minimize rural-urban migration by improving the economic environment in the rural areas. It means to say we could also create job opportunities at the rural area. Pwede natin silang bigyan ng trabaho para hindi na sila pupunta or aalis pa ng lugar nila just to look for a job, right? Now, we can also decrease the retirement age from 65 to 60 for public sector to give chance to younger generation to enter the labor market. But also, providing an attractive, well-defined benefit pensions and a retiree health care for retirees. So, sabi daw dyan, we can also decrease the retirement age. So, yung mga taga-public sector kasi, they would actually wait for 65 years old before they can retire. So, syempre, yung ibang younger generations, they cannot really look for a job because the the people who's at the age of 65, they are still working. But, you know, of course, since we are going to decrease the retirement age to 60, sana, mabigyan din ng magandang retirement package yung mga employees na magre-retire na, right? Okay. Now, next, guys, is next economic problem is poverty. According to psa.gov.ph, Statistics Survey, Labor and Employment, Labor Force Survey, the 2018 poverty incidence among population, or the proportion of poor Filipinos whose per capita income is insufficient to meet their basic food and non-food needs, is now estimated at 16.7% from 16.6%. So, tumaas siya ng 0.1%. So, this translates to about 17.7 million Filipinos living in poverty in 2018 from 7.6 million Filipinos. So, medyo tumaas siya ng kaunti. So, what can we do to be able to decrease the percentage of poverty in our country? So, there is a lot, or there are suggestions that we can do to solve poverty problem. The first one is we can reduce unemployment. So, provide jobs for the people, because the people, the reason why they are working so that they can provide for their families, right? So, we reduce unemployment by providing job opportunities. Appropriate policy on labor income. We can also promote economic growth to improve the standard of living of people. Okay? Also, we can provide unemployment benefits for those who will be unemployed due to natural and man-made calamities. I think in other countries they do this. Kapag unemployed ka, they can provide you with an allowance so that it can help you to find a job for you and your family. Yan, ginagawa yan sa iba. And also, we can increase social services like education, healthcare, and food subsidies leads to sustainable poverty reduction. So, technically, we should support the people na kumbaga yung nasa laylayan ng lipunan, di ba? So that we can decrease poverty incidence. Okay? Next one is quality of infrastructure. This was released, I think, April, ba? Or when? According to ppp.gov.ph, as a proportion of economic output, capital outlays world account for 4% of gross domestic product or GDP. up from the original forecast of 3.8, but still down from the 5.4 achieved last year. So when we talk about quality of infrastructures pala guys, we are talking about our roads, the highway, the buildings, yan yung quality of infrastructure natin. Now, the government allocates budget for this kasi we need quality infrastructure so that there would be not any there would not be any bottlenecks in the movement of the products and services in the market. So therefore, there is really a need for the government to provide good budget for our infrastructure. Now, here in the Philippines, as you guys can see in the report posted by ppp.gov.ph, okay, our capital outlays would account for 4% of our gross domestic product. Okay? So, medyo tumaas daw siya ng konti. Kaya lang, down pa din siya ng 5.4 that we have achieved last year. So from our 4.1 trillion budget, which was nearly unchanged for this year, our next year's outlay is pegged at 4.34 trillion. So medyo mas mataas yung budget natin sa infrastructure, okay? Para sa public works and transportation departments. However, the question is, or we are hoping that our budget would really go in creation of our quality for the quality of our infrastructures and not to anyone's pocket. Diba? So what can we do to be able to or to solve or improve the quality of our infrastructure? So, of course, the first one is to really focus on investment through public-private partnership to address key bottlenecks and achieve quick gains in service delivery. No, sana magkaroon ng partnership between the public and private partnership so that we can address bottlenecks. So when we talk about bottlenecks, di ba, yung sa bote, may parang leeg yung bote. So nagkakaroon ng masikip na daanan doon. Okay, so kaya mas maganda daw na magkaroon ng investments ng public and private partnership para matanggal natin yung bottlenecks na yun. So aside from that, we would like to continue reform in key sectors, particularly power, roads, and water, to improve cost recovery, competition, and institutional credibility, and to sharply reduce corruption. So, yun talaga yung importante, yung matanggal sana yung corruption. Kasi malaking budget dyan for quality of infrastructure, right? So, that's really I think the thing that we need to do to remove totally the corruption. Okay? So again, quality of infrastructure. Then the last one is income inequality. So according to businessmirror.com.ph, this was released April. Ito pala yung nirelease siya ng April. So inequality to worsen in 3-month ECQ study. So guys, when we talk about income inequality pala, okay, let me give you guys the definition of income inequality. So when we talk about income inequality, hold on guys. Right. So when we talk about income inequality, ito yung hindi pagkakapareho or malayong gap ng sahod, okay, ng mga employees natin. Okay? So according to the article posted by Mr. Kai Ordinario way back April 2020, ito yung during nung hindi pa ata nag-ano na to? Nag-ano na yun, February, March, 3 months in the ECQ. Magkakaroon daw ng worse inequality. Okay? According to him, a 3-month shutdown of the Philippines would cost the economy 817 billion and force the country's GDP to contract 2.4% this year. So this was way back April. So I'm trying to look for an updated news about this, but I cannot find any. So hindi natin tuloy ma-check kung tama yung prediction niya. So poverty and inequality are also expected to worsen to poverty incidence of 21.911% and a poverty gap of 5.697%, poverty severity of 2.135%. Okay, now ito yung tingnan natin dito guys, yung The economy said kapag daw 2-month lockdown of the Philippines, this would lead the economy to lose 522 billion and the GDP to post a growth of only 0.6% in 2020. 'Di ba napansin niyo naman na ECQ tayo, ngayon nag-e-MECQ na tayo tsaka ay tama ba? MGCQ. Medyo unti-unting nagbubukas yung mga businesses natin. So most probably because of that, siguro naman medyo umaangat na yung GDP natin. So if you guys were able to see a news about this, please let me know. Parang may nakita din akong news somewhere pero hindi ko matandaan kung saan ko siya nakita. If you happen to see one, please share it with me, chat it with me, or email it to me so that during our synchronous session, we can also talk about it. So, if sabi niya ni Mr. Kai, Kai ba or Cal, if the Philippines would go on lockdown, talagang magkakaroon ng bawas dun sa GDP natin. So because of that, this would lead poverty incident to, of course, increase to 21.778% with a poverty gap of 5.652%. Okay. Now, again, class, if you have an updated data for income inequality, share it with me para maibangga natin siya because this article was released April 2020 and today is already August or it's already September. And let's see kung tama ba yung naging forecast niya. So again, what are the basic economic problems of our country? So we have unemployment, poverty, quality of infrastructure, and income inequality. Okay, so again, if you guys have a data for income inequality, the much updated data for income inequality, you can email it to me, rubijin.karaig@sscr.edu, or you can send it to me or the link to me in the LMS natin. Okay? So now, class, what have we learned today? So today we have learned the difference between economics as a social science and applied science in terms of its nature and its scope. Okay, and then we also have examined the utility and applications of applied economics to solve economic issues and problems. So that's pretty much everything for now, class, for our first module. And thank you so much for listening to our topic. If you have any other questions, please do not forget to send me a message in my email or you can chat me in our LMS. Thank you so much. See you, Coach RJ.